Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here. Hope you're doing well. Yesterday, new President Donald Trump announced that in 11 days, beginning on February 1st, a 25% tariff would begin to take effect on both Canada and Mexico. Now, the stated purpose of these tariffs is to assist in reshoring U.S. manufacturing and also to generate revenue via the newly created External Revenue Service. However, there are likely to be some unintended consequences from these measures, and given the fact that Canada and Mexico are some of the biggest U.S. trading partners, and also that both countries play critical roles in precious metal supply chains, it is likely that there will be a significant impact on the prices of both gold and silver. And that is what we are going to talk about today. So let's get to it. Buy your gold and silver at SD Bullion. Right now, new customers can get gold or silver at spot by visiting sdbullion.com/new. All right, so Donald Trump has been inaugurated. He is the new president. He's calling the shots. And if you watched his inaugural address yesterday, then you know that reshoring U.S. manufacturing and collecting tariffs from U.S. trade partners is at the top of his agenda. And based on what President Trump announced yesterday, it looks like the first move in that direction is going to be to impose a 25% tariff on both Canada and Mexico. This goes into effect on February 1st in just 11 days. And with Mexico and Canada being some of the biggest U.S. trade partners, this will likely have a significant impact on the economy. But specifically, I want to talk about the impact this will have on gold and silver, because these countries, Canada and Mexico, play critical roles in global supply chains for precious metals. Just look at this infographic from Visual Capitalist, which outlines some of the world's biggest silver miners. You'll notice that Mexico is far and away the biggest global producer of silver. In 2023, they produced 202 million ounces of physical silver. You can compare that to 32 million ounces produced here in the U.S. And also notably, look who's in the number 2 spot. It's China. So we haven't heard about Donald Trump's trade policy with China just yet. During the campaign, he had talked about imposing as much as a 60% tariff on Chinese imports. Looks like he might be changing his mind after speaking with President Xi Jinping, but certainly there will be some sort of new trade policy towards China. And if Trump adheres to what he said during the campaign, it will involve tariffs. So China also playing a critical role in this silver supply chain. And the thing about tariffs is really what they do is they make imports from these countries more expensive. So does that mean that silver imported into the U.S. is going to become more pricey? Well, very likely. And it's the same story with Canada. Look at Canada here in the number 4 position for global gold production. You've got China in the number 1 spot, Russia in number 3. Those are also countries where there are likely to be significant trade war escalations. But Canada itself being a major U.S. trade partner, that's where we're going to go for gold first, very likely, if we want to import some. As of February 1st, that means that's going to be 25% more expensive. Now, I want to take a look at the charts of both gold and silver and see how they're reacting following the inauguration. So it's a pretty nice picture here for silver. Now, you might recall that last week when silver was starting to break out of this falling wedge, I may have prematurely declared a breakout in silver. And what we saw there was a bit of a false breakout where it rose above this trend line of this falling wedge, drop back down below it. But now on this inauguration of Trump and all the talk of tariffs and trade wars, silver is picking back up. You'll notice down here on the RSI, that's the relative strength index, silver still has a long way to go up before it is considered overbought. But if the silver chart looks good, and it does, it looks like it's beginning to break out of this pattern, the gold chart looks even better. Today, the price of gold was up over 1%. Now it's back up to $2,742, clearly breaking decisively out of this symmetrical triangle that it was consolidating within dating back to October of 2024. Gold's RSI also shows that it still has significant room to run higher before it becomes overbought. And I think that gold is simply leading silver here. But this trade war talk, especially among major silver and gold producing nations such as Canada and Mexico, the #1 silver producer globally, it indicates to me that the prices for the precious metals will continue heading higher. There's plenty of other factors to support the prices of both precious metals moving forwards, the rising inflation, the endless debts and deficits, but these tariffs and economic warfare among nations is likely to drive them even higher. Also, consider the fact that tariffs could have knock-on effects like accelerating inflation to the upside, potentially even causing an economic contraction. That may lead to more stimulus in the future, and it will also lead to greater safe haven demand for the metal. So overall, this tariff plan, especially with Canada and Mexico, has the potential to put significant upward pressure on both gold and silver. Now, I want to talk briefly about silver and the sentiment towards this metal. So one thing that we know for sure, this is not, opinion or conjecture, this is just a mathematical fact, is that when you look at silver futures, they have risen by more than 40% over the course of the past year. Right now, silver futures year over year are up 41.43%. However, the sentiment for the metals remains incredibly low. Now, how do we know that? Well, look at this sale that SD Bullion is having on 90% US silver half dollars right now. If you buy a $100 face value bag, you get it for 69 cents over spot. That's getting very close to a spot deal. If you look at where premiums on junk silver have been over the past several years, this is incredibly low compared to where they have been. And this indicates to me that even though futures are rising, retail investors still have not gotten a clue. Maybe they're out chasing crypto, and look, crypto's probably going to move a lot higher under Trump too. That bubble's going to get inflated to astronomical proportions. Maybe they're looking at the stock market, or maybe investors and stackers simply are suffering so much under inflation that they're spending their money on groceries and gas to put in their car and get to work, and they're not really worried about stacking physical assets right now. But at a time like this of just absolutely unprecedented uncertainty regarding the global economy, I mean, think about it. We don't know what is going to play out over the next 4 years in terms of a trade war with our major trading partners. Could it work out well and create the kind of economic utopia that Donald Trump is promising? Maybe, but more likely the effects will be a mixed bag, maybe some good, some bad, but there is a lot of potential for disruption. And also, I think there's a significant possibility that at some point during the next 4 years, investors will be clamoring for safe haven assets. I mean, just think about how it was back in March of 2023 when investors were paying maybe 50% over spot for junk silver coins. All of that fear surrounding the financial system seems to have completely evaporated, and yet the fundamental causes for it remain well entrenched. The massive debt, the unsustainable trajectory of fiat currency devaluation, nothing has really changed. And so this is something that I'm focused on stacking at the moment. Junk silver is something I like to watch because it's really like a canary in the coal mine for investor sentiment. It's got a very inelastic fixed supply. In fact, the supply of this stuff shrinks every year, and therefore when problems start to arise, the premiums can absolutely explode, but that's not what's happening right now. There's a lot of complacency among investors, and to me, that means opportunity as a stacker. But leave me a comment down below to let me know what you think about tariffs on Mexico and Canada. Are they going to impact the price of gold and silver? What will be the outcome of the global trade wars, which we are about to embark on? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and I will catch you next time. Stay safe and happy stacking, everyone. Smart Silver Stacker, out.